I'm going to get started now by introducing our very first speaker, who is Gant Laborde. And Gant is a member of Virtual Coffee. He's an owner of Infinite Red, a mentor, an adjunct professor, a published author, and award-winning speaker. For 20 years, he's been involved in software development and continues strong today. He's recognized as a Google developer expert in web and machine learning, but informally, he is an open sorcerer. And I can attest to that because I've met Gant in person and I for sure have seen that. But he aspires one day to become a mad scientist. He blogs, videos, and maintains popular repositories in the communities. We are very happy to have Gant here today talking to us about Fearless and Fabulous, conquering your stage one laugh at a time. Thanks for being here today, Gant.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Well, we're going to get started, I guess, a couple of minutes early, and I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you to kick us off with this amazing talk.
Thank you so much, Becca. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and joining us today. I will not be using slides. I just want to take a short lightning talk of your attention to talk about this whole idea of public speaking and what it really means to me and what I think it means to all of us. And I think this is a great way to start this whole thing off. So one thing I do like to do every time I talk virtually, it's very alone and kind of like I miss everybody. I miss my audience and I want to connect with you. So please, please, please blow up the comments. Speakers love this. So for the rest of the day, for all of the next 2 hours, please blow up the comments for everybody. Make sure that they're getting some kind of communication because, you know, we all went through a pandemic, right? We know what that feels like. We know what speaking into the void feels like. And without those comments, I'm just a dude in his office talking at a lit Black Mirror screen. Okay. So give me that kind of feedback. All right. So let's start this off. So, a couple of tips for public speaking, some very important things. Number one, no notes. No notes. Don't do it. It puts a barrier between you and them. So next is, 1 second. Oh, welcome everybody. I hope that you're ready for today's talk. But you don't need it. You're smart. You don't need this kind of information. You look fabulous, by the way. Have you lost weight? All of you? Tip number 2 in public speaking, compliment your audience. Everybody likes a good compliment, except for Kirk for some reason. Don't know why. I'm sure I'll see his comment soon. Third tip for public speaking, get to know your audience, okay? Really get to know them. It's virtual. That's why I went ahead and I cyber stalked most of you before this. It's good to see some of you again, especially you, Ryan. Hope that rash cleared up. I think that's a fun way to start things off. And I think it's really fun to talk specifically about tips for public speaking. And we usually give these fun tips, like where to look in a room or where to sort of like source your material or whether or not to use slides. And so starting off this virtual coffee, I was thinking, okay, let's get that started. But just yesterday, I got another message from somebody on Reddit that said, I have a public presentation and I am losing it today. They're so worried. They don't know, they're losing sleep, they're having difficulty. And so I thought to myself, to kick this off, one thing I really want to kind of get to is what are the tricks to get from fearless to funny, to get from shy to fly with your presentation? Because we need to talk for a minute here about what the cost of fear is. When you're afraid to speak for a presentation, yeah, it's difficult to get in that presentation, but fears manifest themselves in all kinds of ways. For instance, you could have a fear of flying, stops you from going to conferences, connecting and interacting with people. You could have a fear of doing that presentation for your company where you're just not going to be in the eye of the company. You're not going to actually research the information. You're not going to go into the career you wanted to have. You could be afraid of going and meeting people. You could be afraid of applying to that CFP. Kudos to everybody today for doing their lightning talk and actually interacting in getting this part of their life set from 0 to 1. But there's a lot of people out there that are frozen at 0. They don't have that first part. And I used to be one of those people. I know it's weird for me to say. I'm like, hey, I want to talk to you. I talk all the time. I have a website where I have all my talks listed for years. I emceed conferences through whole days for thousands of people. So how is this dude just like one of those scared nerds who wouldn't even talk in front of a group of people? Well, the truth of the matter is, you just, that fear starts to take over. And when you say the sentence, I want to do this, and I know it's good for me, but everything after that but is a rationalization. Okay. And like I said, I knew this. I went to college, believe it or not, and I actually got out of it too. It worked great. But what happened is I went to a psychology 101 class, and I stood in front of 15 students. I said my first sentence and then like shut down like a computer and could not say another sentence. It worried me to death. I had like 5 coffees ahead of time. I'm like, I'm going to be great. And then it turns out I got in front of everybody and I couldn't say more than one sentence. So, what takes somebody from here to there? I'm going to give you some tips about that. One, coffee was a bad idea. Okay. Do not take anything that's going to heighten your blood pressure right beforehand. Maybe a glass of wine, but don't quote me on that. But one of the things I did is I got in my own head rather than changing my perspective and thinking about it as a gift that I'm giving to other people. And that's a key part of it because when you're in your own head, you can't see. Like there was nothing in front of me. I couldn't tell you a person's face. All I could think of is everything I was doing and everything that could be wrong. And I wanted to go for perfection. Perfection is the enemy of fear because nothing's perfect. So fear will always hold you if you think that you need to be perfect. You can make all the mistakes you need to, and people on the other side of that wall of fear are hoping that you're going to interact and they're hoping that you're going to break through. And they're hoping that you're going to say the speech, take the flight, put in the CFP, or do the presentation. Everybody I talk to is 100% in their own head. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips to help you out if you're stuck in your own head. Okay. Number one, the 10x rule. The 10x rule means that anything that you feel, whether your voice quavers or quivers or whatever the word is, your hands shake or you have some kind of fear in some other way, you think that everybody sees that. No one sees that. As a matter of fact, the one thing I've learned in being a public speaker for this long is if I want to do something, I have to do it 10x for you to. Thank you, Siri. I have to do it 10x for you to hear it, and apparently 2x for Siri. But one of the things that's really important here is that I have to really go overboard in order to make sure people are seeing what I want them to see. That means that little bit that you think everybody saw, they didn't see it at all. Speakers know you have to 10x what you want your audience to see. And that is a shield of protection. They don't see it. They don't worry about it. It's totally okay. So the 10x rule, first things first, get out of your head. Everything that's magnified for you is nothing for them. The second thing that I'm going to say here is that this is the biggest shift. Remember, I talked about the framing shift? There's a huge difference. When you're about to have anxiety, your body releases cortisol, your blood vessels constrict, you start to have a fight or flight response. Your pupils dilate, and fight or flight is not the right place to give a presentation. Don't worry about it. You should not be a genius in fight or flight. But there is a chemical that you can release, and it's oxytocin. Oxytocin is geared specifically towards being able to be excited. So if you imagine that person who's sitting in front of the roller coaster and they hate life, they do not want to get on that roller coaster. Some of you right now, I can tell, are like, oh my God, I hate roller coasters. When you're sitting in front of that roller coaster and you hate it, your body's releasing all the chemicals for fight or flight, and you are resisting that. But the person right next to you who's excited to get on that roller coaster is releasing oxytocin. And they're getting that same adrenaline, they're getting that same cortisol. But one of the things they're doing is that oxytocin comes in and dilates their blood vessels and allows them to be more present, allows them to see what's going on. And that's a great thing. So, one is the context shift. Anchor your brain specifically on excitement. Go to an exciting thought, go to an oxytocin releasing thought. You know what? Try to connect to your audience, hug them. If you were here right now, I'd be giving out hugs left and right. It's so much fun. It's a great way to really connect with your audience. If you go to one of my talks and you don't want to get hugged, sit in the back row. So what I'll say is, like, the oxytocin that's released in these moments is the antidote to the poison that your body is filling with to make you fight or flight. Oxytocin is excited. So the change in that framework. So how do you know? And one of the things I said here is laughing your way to your stage, is because if you can laugh, then you know that you're beating that fear. When people are strict with fear, they can't get a laugh out. They can't think about something and think it's funny. So that's your barometer for what's going on inside your head. That's your chemical barometer. And if you can't laugh, then you need to re anchor yourself on your oxytocin thoughts and your excited feel. This is the body biohack to all of a sudden getting around that idea that you shouldn't go ask for a promotion, that you shouldn't go to a meeting, that you shouldn't go to a conference, that you shouldn't apply to talk, that you shouldn't get on that stage. You need to realize that you're excited, and all those people in the audience are excited for you. That is the awesome hack. Now, that's just level one. After you do that, there's a whole world of having better talks, having different strategies, everything like that. But 0 to 1, the most important part is go out there and put yourself in that situation and practice anchoring yourself in that laughable, happy stage so that you can be ready to present for everybody. Okay? Hopefully, I motivated some of you to go ahead and give this a try. I can tell you this, I will talk to you forever. Find me on Twitter. Let's talk about this. Message me. Let's talk about React Native. Let's talk about AI. And hey, let's talk about public speaking. I love talking about these things. Find me on Twitter. Message me, DM me. Tell me what conferences you've been wanting to go to. Tell me what's been going on. I will chat your ear off about these things. So with that, I think that you've got step 0 to 1. And a lot of you are working on step 1 to infinity, which is the rest of your talks. But I'm going to leave you with my final 2 tips for public speaking. Second to last tip, always leave your audience wanting more. And with that, back to you, Bekah.
Thanks so much, Gant. It's great to have you here with us. I dropped Gant's Twitter information there, and I just want to say that I met Gant in person at the end of last year, and I was not feeling super great about my speaker experience. I was kind of at a low point with what I was doing, and I just remember Gant was like, you need to take up space. Like, don't shrink yourself. And it was something that I had progressively been doing. And when I went into my first talk of the new year in January, I thought, like, you know what? I need to take up space in this moment. And so I can 100% say that Gant's advice blew all of my previous presentations out of the water. So listen to what Gant says. It has so much power in what you're doing. And I appreciate you sharing all of that with us here today, Gant.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I love this kind of stuff. I'm looking forward to listening to all the other talks and enjoying the rest of the day.